Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest Minty Reviews, and this is for the next episode of Star Trek Strange New World titled Charades. This is episode 5, and yeah, I didn't do another cold open for this one, mainly because this is actually the second recording of this video. I had already done a full recording with video, with audio, everything, and by the end of it, I'm like, wow, I got really flustered doing all of that because of how much I love this episode. So I'm re-recording the whole thing and just making it hopefully more coherent to everyone and to a little bit, more condensed and shorter. But either way, as you can tell by the massive smile on my face, I love this episode so much. But before I get into actually talking about it, as with every review, I'm going to do a non-spoiler section first and then a spoiler section after that. So you all can, if you haven't seen the episode yet, you can watch the review first, the non-spoiler, get my general thoughts about it, and then you can go into the spoiler review part of it if you have seen the episode or don't really care or anything. So we're going to start off with non-spoilers as per the usual. So non-spoilers here, everyone, non-spoilers. And again, as I just said, I absolutely love this episode so much. From beginning to end, everything about it was so great. Beyond being a Spock and Chapel episode, and those two being two of my favorite characters on this whole show, everyone on this show is my favorite character, but I really love Ethan Peck as Spock, and I really love Jess Bush as Nurse Chapel. Nurse Chapel specifically because, I didn't know the character going into this series. I knew she was, a pretty much a background secondary character in the original series, but really she didn't get anything to do. So the fact that we have Nurse Chapel here doing a lot of stuff and actually having stories built around her is really great. So I loved it. I loved it. The acting in this episode was so good, so funny as well. This was a very funny episode, to the point where it was kind of a comedy for most of it. There are some very impactful scenes with certain characters and certain storylines going on that did feel very well. That did feel really good and very well done. There's a lot of really great comedy in it from the whole cast. And even though this was a Spock and Chapel-centric episode, we did get enough appearances by the whole rest of the cast that it felt like a really good ensemble episode as well. The only ones we didn't really get to see too much were Mbenga, basically, but he's had a couple of big story beats in the past couple episodes anyway, so it's okay, a little bit okay. Same with La'an. We didn't really get too much La'an this episode, but she's had some major things in the past couple episodes as well. So this was a really good ensemble episode for the whole crew, and really showed the whole crew being a legitimate family to each other, and it was so heartwarming and so nice. But yeah, I love this episode. I loved what they were saying with it, with the whole storyline they were going with, and just with all the character progression, all the characters in it as well, and how they were portrayed and how they were acted, and just going through the whole story. So that's going to be the non-spoiler section. So I love this episode a lot. I loved it so much. So let's get into spoilers now. So spoilers over here. Spoilers. So in 3, 2, 1, Spockle. So this episode is a combination of Spock and Chapel. For sure, is a Spock and Chapel episode 100%. And the storyline we have here is that the Enterprise is on a little bit of a down mission, downtime mission, not a downer mission, a downtime mission, where they're investigating this moon somewhere in the Vulcan system that had this ancient civilization on it that went missing a while ago. And they're just trying to see if they can find any evidence of this civilization. Not really that important of a mission. They took it on half speed of the ship just to be get some downtime. They're just all there vibing. They're all there vibing based on a little mini vacation while on a mission. And we have Chapel preparing for her interview with the Vulcan Science Federation, Archaeological Federation. I forgot the name of it exactly, but it's an archaeological medical federation. I think that's actually the name of it there. And she's studying for this interview to hopefully get in, and the whole crew's helping her out by helping her memorize the different things she needs to know for this interview. And it's really sweet. It's really sweet, really awesome to see the crew acting like a family there. Meanwhile, we have Spock, who is preparing and also worrying, as much as a half Vulcan can, about this upcoming engagement dinner he has to do with T'Pring and her parents. So it's one of those situations of Spock's got to meet the in-laws, and he has heard a lot of really bad things about T'Pring's mom, and has also met T'Pring's mom, and is wow, she hates me. So it's one of those episodes. In a sitcom sense, it's one of those sitcom-y episodes where it's oh no, gotta meet the in-laws, and it's funny. However, the issue that comes up in the episode is that when they're on a shuttle mission to this moon, Spock and Chapel are on the ship, and they get sucked into this wormhole space-time rift thing, science fiction mumbo jumbo stuff, and the ship crashes. However, when they wake up, when Spock wakes up, Chapel's fine, The shuttle is actually better than fine. However, the issue is that Spock wakes up as a human. So what we find out in the episode is that the aliens that had been on the planet had basically kind of transcended to become like energy beings, which is funny and cool. And they're like super scientists now. And when the ship crashed it's a way of showing gratitude that, they were there and, to help them out. They fixed the ship, they fixed up Chapel, and they fixed up Spock. However, when they looked at his DNA, not realizing he's half Vulcan, half human, they thought his DNA was messed up because his didn't match Chapel's. So they fixed his DNA to make him a human. That's not good. It's not good. However, it then leads to the rest of the episode, most of the rest of the episode, being Spock, and acted beautifully by Ethan Peck, I will say. Like, absolutely wonderfully by Ethan Peck. Has him basically going through the teenage human puberty, where he's just feeling every emotion all at once. And even La'an says this at one point, too, where she's like, you're feeling a lot of emotions. You're feeling a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of, pent-up sexual frustrations, and also hunger as well. Which is true. Spock's feeling all of that all at once, and it leads to some really great scenes of him just over emoting in certain situations, almost trying to kill Sam Kirk for leaving a plate on a table, and laughing too much at one of Ortegas's jokes to a very uncomfortable degree, and even Spock realizing this and noticing this and being like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm still figuring out these emotions stuff, and the whole crew being like, no, it's fine, we understand, we're trying to fix this as well. And while that's all going on, Chapel are trying to figure out how to fix his DNA. And Chapel has a bit of some type of survivor's guilt with this whole thing. Because she's like, if I wasn't there, this wouldn't have happened. This would not have happened. This is my fault that I'm about to ruin his engagement to T'Pring and ruin this engagement dinner because I was there and because I'm human. And M'Benga is like, no, stop it. Stop it. It's not you. You're feeling all this because you like Spock. And he doesn't really necessarily say this, but they get to this later. And it's like, you're feeling this because you have a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings for Spock, and you're taking the blame onto yourself when you shouldn't, because you're doing more than anybody else. You're trying to help him. You're trying to fix him now. It's great. We see the building, not the building, but we see continuation of that whole plot there of Spock loving Chapel, and Chapel loving Spock, and both of them not being able to tell each other their true feelings for each other because of various reasons. Chapel because she's like, I know that you're with T'Pring and I can't. It's like an unrequited love situation. And then Spock being like, well, I'm with T'Pring and I'm a Vulcan, so I don't know how to express these emotions that I'm feeling. And it's a really beautiful thing. It's a really, really beautiful thing how they actually deal with it in the episode. However, then it gets to some really good comedy bits, though, with the actual dinner engagement ritual, whatever. And we also get to meet Spock's mom. Spock's mom is great. And she's like, oh, no, I should have taught you how to be a human a long time ago, but I didn't, because I was suppressing that because of Vulcan. We get this really hilarious, scene, group of scenes of Spock having to go through these Vulcan rituals as a human and being like, oh no, I need to lie my ass off out of this thing and make it seem like I'm a Vulcan here, even though I'm human now. And he does. He does it perfectly, to the point where when he actually regains his Vulcanhood, he just tells off T'Pring's mom, while being a Vulcan, like, hey, you said a human couldn't do this, and you said that only a full Vulcan could do this? Well, haha, I was a human the whole time, and I passed all these with flying colors, and you didn't know at all. So, haha, who's the real Vulcan here? And honestly, probably shouldn't have done that in front of T'Pring, because that made her mad. But whatever, we'll get to that in a little bit. And we got to see the full range of Ethan Peck here in terms of comedy, and him overacting everything in a great comical but also sincere way, where he truly was acting his ass off as Spock, as a human, which is the weirdest and funniest thing to say, but it was all handled so beautifully and so well that it just goes to show how Ethan Peck is so great at this character. He is a great and phenomenal Spock. And also this episode might have also been one of the reasons why we get a more Vulcan or more Vulcan-y Spock in the future for original series Spock, where it's oh, now he's fully felt human emotions, he's fully felt those full spectrum of emotions, now he knows how to suppress them more as a Vulcan. Possibly. I'm just spitballing here. And then when it comes to Chapel, we have Chapel having to deal with her emotions with Spock as well, to the point where her, Ortegas, and Uhura go into the wormhole again to talk to these interdimensional alien energy beings to try and convince them, like, hey, you all messed up. We need your help to fix Spock's DNA, or he's going to become a human for the rest of his life, and we cannot have that. But during this whole time, the energy beings won't help them because they're like, we didn't mess up, and you're not close enough to Spock for us to fix this. And it takes Ortegas and her being like, yo, Chapel, you just need to admit to yourself and to these aliens that you like Spock, dude. Like, you just need to do this right now to help him. And it does. It leads to Chapel just admitting to herself and admitting to the world she has emotions, she has feelings for Spock. And it leads to a phenomenal scene with Jess Bush. And she acts her ass off, too, in this whole episode. There's some great impactful emotional acting between Ethan Peck and Jess Bush in this episode so well. And then by the end of the episode, we get this unfortunately heartbreaking kind of reveal, not necessarily a reveal, but a heartbreaking scene where T'Pring says, like, hey, you should have just told me. You should have just told me what was going on. We could have postponed this like we've been doing, but I don't like the fact you didn't trust me enough to tell me this. And it's a legitimate feeling from T'Pring of, like, this is now the third or fourth time in the series alone that Spock hasn't been truthful with T'Pring. And it's a really interesting dynamic here where when Spock was so emotional as a human, he wasn't considering T'Pring's emotions, and he wasn't considering T'Pring's feelings on this, and he was actually trying to be more logical about it. Even though he wasn't using logic at that point, he was going off of full emotions, which is a really intriguing type of, like, dynamic to go with Spock, who is always so logical and can't really emote as well. The fact that when he actually finally could emote, he wasn't thinking at all. He wasn't thinking straight, or he wasn't thinking about T'Pring in the absolute most frenzy way of T'Pring basically being like, hey, we need to just take a break from each other because you need to work on yourself and I need to be away from you for a bit because you clearly don't trust me enough. And it's very sad. It is a sad scene. Because, like, this whole time we're kind of like not necessarily we don't hate T'Pring, but it's like we haven't seen enough of her, and this just goes to show that no, T'Pring does truly care about Spock to the point where, like, her actually being engaged to Spock at all is actually her rebelling against her parents because her mom is a controlling asshole. Like, just straight up, she is one of those, like, controlling type of, like, hyper moms. But yeah, so we get that heartbreaking scene of T'Pring just leaving Spock like, hey, you need to figure out how to trust me, and so we can actually make this work. And it does set up later stuff in TOS and hopefully later in this series as well. The episode fully ends with Spock and Chapel fully admitting to each other that they have feelings for each other. It's him still trying to figure out his emotion stuff there and being like, no, I wanted to save you because you're you. And then Chapel just going full force into is like, nah, dude, I love you. I have feelings for you. And they just start making out at the end. So Spockle's a thing. Spockle is fully a thing. That is their ship name I'm giving them. I don't care if it's wrong or not. Their name is now Spockle. But so that's fun. I like that personally because I like both of them as a couple. But it was a very great episode overall to wrap up the spoiler section. It was a phenomenal episode. We got the full ensemble really being a true family here with some great scenes from everyone. We got some phenomenal acting from Ethan Peck, some phenomenal acting from Jess Bush, and some great heartfelt moments with all of them as character growth and as this really intriguing, like, star-crossed, like, unfortunately fated love triangle between Spock, T'Pring, and Chapel, which is adding so much depth to these characters, and that they can just very easily subtly do in these episodes, which they have been subtly doing a lot in this season as well with these three. Mainly the two of Chapel and Spock, we haven't really seen T'Pring as much, but some phenomenal growth for all of them. And then obviously leading to the end where Chapel and Spock are just a thing, which adds a whole nother layer of dimension to them in the original series, where it's like, okay, they were clearly like a thing before, but now it's like, oh, they were a thing before. they were like a thing before. So now I'm really curious in the rest of the season, how are they going to play that up? Like, what are they going to do with that? Now that, like, T'Pring is kind of out of the picture for a little bit, how are they going to do that in the series? So I'm very intrigued to see that. But overall, I I love this episode. So that's going to be the end of spoilers here. I love this episode so much. If there's an episode for you to just go and see, like, right now, like, get Paramount Plus, go watch this right now, it's this episode. Like, it's this episode in episode 2, Ad Astra per Aspera, where that one is just kind of one of the best Star Trek episodes ever made, just because of what it is. This one, for me personally, is just such a fun episode that is so Star Trek-y while so not being Star Trek-y, that it just works on every level, and it really shows all these characters at their highest, at their peaks. Absolutely phenomenal episode. I love this thing so much. Let me know down in the comments as well, what did you think about this episode, and what did you think about the fact that we finally got Spockle as a full thing, and also the emotional journeys that Spock and Chapel went on. But either way, let me know down in the comments all that stuff as well. And if you like this video as well, leave a little like as well. It definitely does help out. If you want to see more reviews and more videos that I do of reviews, reactions, and video essays whenever I finally do them again, leave a subscription as well. It definitely does help out and truly does mean a lot to me, who makes all these videos for you all. It definitely does mean a lot as well. Plus, I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the month. Hopefully I can get that. Hopefully I can. But either way, until next time, right over here is going to be a playlist for Marvel Secret Invasion. It's a show I'm not liking as much as Strange New World, but it's still fun to review them anyway. And over here is going to be a video that YouTube recommends for you as well. Until next time, just live long and prosper, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, peace everyone. Peace.